All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the brawl in Hall 5. I'm going to try to keep it under control up here. I'm Sxsw Welch. On my right is Jack Welch, and on my left, Gary V. These are two guys who need no introduction whatsoever, so I think I'll just plunge in. We are asking you to send us your questions also. You can see the information up there. Ask Real CEOs, I think, is the hashtag. So let's just start right off with sort of a brief, if you would, guys, State of the Union, right? It's 2015, and the people who are in this audience are interested in starting businesses, getting funding, hiring great people, crushing the competition.
Yeah.
If you were especially crushing the competition. If you were sitting in a bar, as you were wont to do with any of the people in this audience, what would you tell them really, really excites you about the future, and what is scaring the living daylights out of you? Gary, you're up.
Well, you're up, Gary.
I was being polite here.
Nothing scares me. And as far as what excites me is that clearly the internet's promise over the last 20 years is squeezing out the middle of anybody who doesn't bring value. To me, what I feel is happening, and that we're all so lucky to be living through right now, is it feels like there's more meritocracy, right? If you've got the chops, there isn't an editor, there isn't a decision maker, there isn't somebody who's stopping you, because the platform of the internet allows people to really go direct to consumer.
There's no more man, there's no more machine.
Yeah, especially man, right? Like I hate man.
Right, yeah, and you're saying you really believe there's no more machine, so nothing scares you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm an optimist. I mean, Vladimir Putin scares me, but
well, where is he?
Chewbacca scares me, but things scare me, but from a business sense,
All right, total optimism from Gary. Jack?
You know what scares me is having an idea. I meet more and more young people come up to me and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I say, what's your damn idea? Idea? I want to be an entrepreneur. You don't manufacture an entrepreneur, you gotta have something. You gotta have, as he says, chops, and you gotta have something of value, something unique. I want to be an entrepreneur for a career. I speak at all these fancy colleges all over the world, and kids raise their hand, I want to be an entrepreneur. Get an idea.
Okay, so let's say they have an idea, okay?
Then the hard part.
Right, so what are the two big pieces of advice you would give somebody who's got an idea and wants to be an entrepreneur? Not everyone can be one. What's the two big pieces of advice you give somebody? Gary?
Well, first of all, Jack's right, but for me, we're seeing so many, I see so much early stage startup stuff, and the truth is, ideas are commoditized. A lot of people have got the same ideas. A ton of ideas are straight shit, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's that problem. I think the more stunning thing is I've seen a ton of people with tremendous ideas that have no idea how to actually execute. I think the single biggest thing that I would tell people is that I think there's a huge disconnect between their idea and the audience they're trying to serve. The lack of pulse of knowing who you're trying to serve, who you're trying to sell to.
The value proposition.
Right.
What is the value proposition?
All right, and the advice you'd give
over and over again, you get people that talk about stuff that don't say, it's like everybody wanted to go to China in my day. We gotta be in China. They don't need you. What are you bringing that's different? Why are you bringing it?
So you'd ask.
And China's a great place if you've got something the Chinese government needs. If you're coming over there with a bag of crap, nothing's going to happen, no matter how many billion people they have.
And Jack, that doesn't, by the way, not just fucking China, right? Everybody, when you bring shit, I love when people are like, Gary, I really need your marketing. I'm like, no shit, your product fucking blows. Right, so I think,
I hope my children aren't watching this.
Susie, it's just getting started. You got 55 minutes of this.
All right, so you tell them, get a proposition. All right, but you gotta build a team while you're at it, all right? You gotta hire somebody. Gary, you're hiring a lot of people. Jack, you had 400,000 people working for you at one point. What are you looking for when you're, yes, 400,000. What are the qualities you're looking for? There's a lot of smart people out there.
No, what are you looking for? Smart, hungry, energized, people that can energize others, excite others, make the case for where you're going, how you're gonna get there, and get people following you, and hungry. You want hungry people. You want people with their nose against the glass. Smart, passionate, hungry, willing to take the hill. That's what you want. You don't want anybody else in the game.
I'm obsessed with self-awareness, right? Somebody who knows themselves, I think, is a real value to me, because Jack's right, and he's talking about leaders, and we've got plenty of those, and I love those people. But the truth is, especially for a younger generation, we're in this point now where, work-life balance, or how much money actually is needed for you as an individual, everybody in here, to actually get you to that happy place. What else do you value? So to me, if you show me somebody who's self-aware, even if they're self-aware that they're a B-, in a big machine, there's spots for a lot of different players.
How do you find out if somebody's self-aware? Ask them, are you self-aware?
No, for me, I watch it in their behavior, right? I mean, some people walk in, they're like, Gary, I really think that I should be an SVP. And I'm like, I think you should be fucking fired, right? and so, so I think that there's people, their actions day in and day out. Listen, I think with no question right now, especially in a world where people are talking to the world, there's a lot more communication, right? Yeah. Employees can talk to the world, not just inside their own buildings. I think that the HR DNA of an organization has never been more valuable, right? The human resources to me is at the top now, not an afterthought or a checkbox.
I'm telling you, this is what I feared the most about this, is that you guys were going to agree too much, because Jack, you also think that
well,
HR
I believe it's,
is, look, it's a long time people have hated on HR, but HR is all important, isn't it?
But in our new book, we're pitching a real hard pitch. Break up HR. Get the finance, the insurance, the badge, the crap out of it. And let HR truly be people development, careers, lifestyle, everything. And this is a big deal. HR is always the backwater. Back in the last thing to hire, may have a picnic in the birthday with HR. The rest is crap. And so you really want to just focus on that, not a bunch of stuff around badges, insurance, finance.
Just make it all about the people.
Make it about the people.
Suze, I'll tell you this. I've had a consistent career of firing the single most talented people in my organization because they were unable to play with the other girls and boys from an HR standpoint. That to me is just a death blow. I don't give a fuck if you're the greatest of all time. If nobody else likes you, get the hell out of my face.
Let's get personal for a minute. I want to talk to you guys about valuations and some stuff with the economy, but I just want to know, you're both successful and we all know your achievements, but I want to know about the biggest mistake you ever made so that everybody out here who's watching can avoid making this mistake. Biggest mistake you ever made.
Well, I'm the oldest, so I've made the most. But fundamentally, I've bought businesses based on numbers. We used to buy a business a day, 200 a year.
Jesus.
And I made a lot of mistakes by buying it based on numbers and not about culture. When you try and take culture A and put it with culture B, all hell can break loose if A and B don't get along. And numbers aren't enough. So when you start doing deals and other stuff, don't get all hung up on the numbers. Be sure the fit culturally works. And the people, as Gary says, like each other, can work together. That's a big deal.
Didn't you have sort of a rather explosive mistake early in your career, Jack?
Well, I blew the roof off a building. I was a chemical engineer, PhD, scientist. I was mixing stuff, and I blew the roof off the building. And
what
I
happened?
thought it was all done. I thought I was all done. I met her, and I had to go to New York to meet the top boss, and because my current boss didn't know me once I blew the roof off. He thought I was the last thing he wanted to be near. So he sent me to see his boss. I went down there. His boss happened to be a hell of a guy. He used the Socratic method. What did you do wrong? How did you do it? Why'd you do it? What would you do right the next time? And I took my white shirt and tie and drove back in my Volkswagen, and I got back, and I still had a job.
What did you learn from that?
That absolutely don't kick anybody when they're down. You can kick people when they're swelling instead of growing. Think about that. When you find people who are swelling instead of growing, you've got a huss's ass on your hands, and you're going to have to deal with it. And that's a big deal. So remember that.
Don't kick them when they're on their back. Gary, what's your big mistake or two?
I think the themes, I think I will repeat these mistakes because I think they're entrenched into my DNA. I think at times I'm too patient. You know, patience is my strength, but
Not
is
seeing,
that true?
not seeing
I
it.
thought they were like laughing at something.
No, no,
It's
Gary,
not
no,
obvious.
No, laughing at you.
Thanks, Jack. I get it. I think I understand my personality and the outwardness, but I'm stunningly patient if somebody digs into the way. Listen, everybody forgets. You know, I spent 8 years building Wine Library before I ever came out and even said hello to the world. I didn't try to become a business coach or a thought leader at 24 because I had some ideas. So, you know, I think I'm actually too patient at times. I think the other thing that happens, which contradicts that a little bit, is at times I get very big eyes and I try to do 4 or 5 things at the same time, just because I think I can. My ego and bravado get the best of me, and I think that, you know, just through sheer will that I'll create victory. And so those have been the things that I need to pay attention to.
All right. If you're going to give people advice about this, what would it be? I want to know for both of you, what sets off your bullshit meter? What sets it clanging?
Bullshit.
Bullshit and pomposity. Nothing's worse than pomposity.
Like
A pompous ass is the worst thing in the world. Somebody who thinks they're more important than they are, who thinks they're somebody big. It's the worst trait known to man.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It makes my face fucking melt off.
Yeah.
You know, I hate when people are hypocrites, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this person's micromanaging too much. And I'm like, you're fucking micromanaging too much. You know, so to me, hypocrisy kills me.
All right, let's go into some fast answers. I'm going to throw out some words, sort of hot words or hot ideas that are going on right now, and I'd love to get your sort of fast reactions to them. We'll just go back and forth between the two of you, all right?
I feel like
What?
I just want. Go ahead.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm great.
All right. All right, Facebook.
Hot.
The establishment.
Ooh. All right, 3D printing. 3D printing.
Early.
Gun control. Let me
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
We got a smart crowd.
Yeah.
I wanted to go, you know, but clearly
I know,
most of
dude.
them got it, which is like, we debate these things of like, people can't, don't let them buy guns at shows. I'm like, they're gonna fucking make guns in like 4 minutes.
All right, interesting. All right, Twitter. Tired.
Attention issues. The fire hose is too loud and the attention graph is broken on Twitter as it sits right now.
Google.
Tough to compete with, I'll tell you that. I'm in IAC, which has Match.com, which has all the other search engines and other things, and Google's one tough ass guy to do business with.
Yep. Google.
A search company that should be dramatically more, and every second I'm just waiting to do that.
Jeff Bezos.
Big balls.
Oh my God.
Love them.
Okay.
Big hairy balls.
Oh God.
I'm a huge fan. I think he's as good of a CEO as there is.
I'm a huge fan.
All right. Okay. Well, Jeff, we obviously love you up here. All right. We heard about. What about the Sony hack?
Who gives a fuck? It's the norm.
Well, Sony gave a.
It's the norm. Everybody's gonna be hacked. You're fully on the record for the rest of your fucking lives. Get used to it.
I agree with that totally.
All
I
right.
mean,
It's true. Like, forget privacy, right? All right. Uber.
Just go public already, please.
Go public and.
pretty freaking great.
Pretty freaking great. All right. Here's one. Work-life balance.
No such thing. It's all about choices. You make the choices, you go after them, and you live with the consequences, good and bad, and you make your own choices, and you don't wait for some bureaucracy to come out and tell you
100%.
50-50, 49-51, that's all crap. You make the choices, you do the thing, and you live with the consequences.
It's 100% right. It's an individual thing that you have to respect the people that you've surrounded yourself with in your life and take their feelings into account.
Yep.
But it's such an individual thing, and when people try to impose their work-life balance on others without the context of their lives, their upbringings, their spouses, and all variables, the kids' dynamics, it's crazy. That's crazy.
All right, Jack and I gave a talk one time at a conference, and Jack said what he just said, and people in the audience stood up and walked out. I'm noticing nobody's walking out on that. And Gary, you kissed him, so maybe that's why nobody is walking out.
It was a more establishment.
A little bit more establishment. All right, let's just talk about one last thing here in this fast track. Texas, great state of Texas.
I think it's the greatest place you can do big business. We're involved with 3 companies here and absolutely love the whole atmosphere of this place, the energy of the people, the government, the taxes, everything.
All right.
I hate fucking Texas. Because Texas wholesalers, liquor wholesalers, paid politicians in Texas in the back rooms to keep Wine Library from not being able to ship here while allowing everybody else to do it. So I call that communism, Jack.
You have a different experience.
What'd you do about it? What'd
You can't do shit about it because the fact of the matter is state by state liquor laws.
Yeah, liquor
and
laws.
at the end of the day, I can't do dick about it, and so fuck you, Texas.
But that's,
This is okay. All right.
that's true of a lot of other states in the wine business. Texas is not
Was Texas the
wrong.
only state that did that to you?
Texas is the only state that is letting everybody else ship but me, yes. Texas is the only fucking state that's doing
No, I
that.
think Texas doesn't like Gary for some reason. You got Texas.
That's
please come and
fine.
love Gary.
Some fucking dick face doesn't like me and was able to get a politician to block me. That's
right.
fine. Fuck you.
How does he really feel? And that's what we need to know. All right. Okay. Look.
But we have 2 distinctly different
Here,
views.
this is a point of differentiation. So, look. Gary, you're all new economy, all new stuff. Jack is very much involved in new economy stuff in the past 10 years, but, swam in the sort of industrial world for a long time. And so I want to ask you both this question, see where you come out with it. What is tried and true about business? What is never going to change? What are the immutable laws? And what is brand new, given the way the world has changed in the past 5-10 years?
Hire great people with passion that I talked about before. Absolutely have a generosity gene. This is the thing that I have learned over all my years, that is the most important thing a leader has had. I want you to think of your bosses. And I'm convinced now it's a gene. Is your boss somebody who hides your ideas and takes them themselves? Is your boss somebody who loves to see you get promoted? Is your boss somebody who gets turned on when he or she gives you a raise or a bonus? Or are they trying to save the company 2 cents? Is your career big deal to them? If they're not, get your ass away from them. Because the generosity gene is what you want to look for in your boss. You want a boss that can hardly wait to see you sprout. That the biggest turn on in the world for me is I've got 41 CEOs who work for me. That's a turn on. That is better than any you can get. And that's what you want to look for. Don't work for the boss who hides you, who takes your idea and shows it to their boss. Any of those characteristics.
And so you're saying also display this gene, right? I mean, it's not
And you
technically a gene.
yourself have this gene. Love to take care of your people. Love to do things for them. Make the atmosphere fun. Work is fun, and you've got to make it that way.
All right, so this is like one of the immutable long-term laws of businesses.
Without question.
If you've got the generosity, either work for somebody who's got it, or be the person
Or
who's
be
got
the person
it, or
that
both.
shows it.
Right. All right, immutable law of business, forever and ever.
Supply and demand. For me, that's the one I keep paying attention to. Right now, I pay most attention to the supply and demand of attention. It's why I'm obsessed with Instagram and Snapchat, because it's happening there. It's why I'm down on Twitter at this moment, because there's a fire hose issue. So supply and demand really matters to me. I think about it all the time in whatever variable. I think the thing that's changed is the level of scale, right? the fact that Uber or these companies in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because the internet has created infrastructure and mobile devices and all these other variables, what's really changed is you didn't have companies go from 0 to 40 billion in valuation in 3, 4, 5 years. So the scale has completely changed, and so that gives the home run hitting, the upside, the Hail Mary, a very sexy kind of halo effect, which also then leads to everybody chasing that lotto ticket, and it creates a different dynamic.
What is brand new to you, Jack?
Well, speed. Speed is unbelievable. I mean, if you asked me five years ago, I would have said speed. And now if you ask me today about 5 years ago, I would have said it was slow. I mean, everything is faster. I mean, just take, for example, 6 months ago, how many of you thought oil would take a dive? Raise your hand. How many of you thought oil would take a dive? 2. Right.
How many of you don't give a fuck about oil?
You got to.
No, you got to because of change. And let's go to the euro. You don't give a fuck about the euro, maybe.
There we go, Jack. Get fired up.
But the facts are the euro has changed 40%, and if you're down 40% versus the dollar, and if you're a multinational, you're not, probably most 99% of you, but if you are and you're an exporter, you just had your throat cut. All your plans are gone in 6 months. That never happened before.
So the speed of change in the
speed
markets.
of change is unbelievable.
In the markets. All right. Look, both of you come from pretty hard scrabble beginnings. I think, technically Jack's sort of more hard scrabble than you, Gary, but you both, neither of you were born with silver spoons in any orifice. And so let me ask you this. When you were sort of 20 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
The owner of the New York Jets.
Be a professional hockey player.
Isn't that interesting? You both wanted to be in the sports world.
Yep.
Because business is a game too.
It's the game.
It's the game. Totally.
Jack's still playing. That's what sucks. Nobody understands. Being an athlete blows, right? You have like an 8 to 12 year window,
Yeah.
and then you're
If
34
you're
or
lucky.
37, and you have to your whole life has been for this thing, and you've got to completely reset.
Do you still want to be the owner of the New York Jets? Okay, sorry, but you could make
Well,
them
you
better.
just got Revis.
You're
did get Revis.
But they could be better.
Well, why the fuck do you think I want to buy them?
Okay, you heard it here first. All right.
They didn't hear
and
it
so
here
you wanted,
first,
you both
Susie.
wanted to be in the athletic world. Okay, so and then what changed? I mean, like when did it change? When did you why'd you?
When I went to college and I played against Canadians, and I was the slowest guy in town.
Yeah, you haven't given up. Okay, all right. Jack, you ran a network. Gary, you think every person can be a network, probably.
I do.
Is there any future for intermediaries in the media space anymore?
Yeah, the platforms are the intermediaries. Snapchat's in the middle now, right? So the platforms on top of the internet play that role, but clearly media is going through a massive shift. I think when you think about over-the-top services, mobile first, I mean, there's such big shifts, and I think people are grossly underestimating how big of a moment Snapchat's Discover platform, where they kind of went to media as a core function, a place that Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and other places had not gone before. I think that's an early shot to where these things can go.
Yeah, I have to tell you, this is a true generational thing, because I know from previous conversations, you really think Snapchat's the living end, and Jack and I, whenever we get pictures from our kids on Snapchat, we're like, it's disappearing, and we get very frustrated by it.
Suze, our entire conversation right now is disappearing. Disappearing
That's very
is actually the
existential.
norm. That's actually how we live. Documenting is new. This is new with the front row filming. This is new.
Yeah.
The way we've lived forever is disappearing.
All right, that's a very existential thought, very existential thought. Can I get you guys to say, each of you, what companies you think are overvalued and what you think is undervalued and why? Jack?
Not me. I'm just not smart enough to know, because one day Apple, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, at $700 and they had to split, it was dead. Look at it now. So you look at these companies, valuation is in the eyes of the buyer. And there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, so Microsoft was this, Cisco was this, now Google's this, Box is this. It's that they're valued whatever the market has. Now, I don't like the early funding when you're getting in at these crazy valuations before it goes public. Once it goes public, I think you got yourself a real look at the market, and you'll find out if Box can deliver, if Shake can deliver, if Once can deliver. They were all out public in the last month. But now we'll watch them. They've got to start doing stuff. But this undressing where people are all buying bigger valuations under the radar, I can't comment on those. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it depends on the context of like a timeline. So I'm going to go with, let's say, a 5-year timeline. I think things like, I think Walmart's overpriced in a 5 to 10 year window. I think they're much more vulnerable to consumer behavior over the next decade. I think Facebook is grossly underpriced. I don't think people really understand how good that ad product is and what we're going to be seeing from that over the next 4 to 5 years. And just, I think Zucks is a beast and underrated because he just hasn't had time to show it for the market. So those two stand out.
All right. Just speaking of investing and starting up companies and so forth, what is the best thing in the world that your investors can say about you? If you're running a company, what's the best thing an investor can say about you?
You mean in the private angel world or in Wall Street?
Let's say angel world right now.
To me, I think it's just tenacity and willing to change their mind. My favorite founders that I invest in are the ones who aren't scared that in 6 months after they went and told everybody that their company was going to do X, when they taste that it's broken, they're willing to shift to Y. That takes a lot of courage. That takes an A player. There's way too many people in this room that don't like to change their mind. I look at it as the reverse. I only value those who are willing to do that. That means you're adjusting to the moment of the market at that set, and so that's what I'm looking for.
I agree with that, but I'd say this. You also have to do what you say. The idea of a lot of bullshit out there doesn't work. It'll work for a period, but if you don't deliver on what you say, your credibility is key to you all of your life.
And by the way, Jack, I'm sorry to interrupt, more now than ever, because now everybody here is being documented to a level we've never seen generationally before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? There's no hiding anymore. Everything's being documented.
Right.
If Walmart goes up 80x over the next 10 years, I'm a dickhead.
Right, because they keep on showing it on a constant loop, right? Well, what's the best thing? I think Jackie talked about this a little bit. If that's what your investors, you're saying you want to have investors be able to say, yeah, he changes when he sees the market changing. And Jack, you're saying you want them to say that guy does or that woman does what she says she's going to do.
But I agree totally with
so
him. You can't get locked in a box. You've got to be able to move.
But a combination of the two. What's the best thing your employees could say about you? You talked about the generosity gene, but what else? What's the best thing that people who work for you could say about you?
He really cares about me. Me, my life, where I'm going, how I'm growing.
I was gonna, he or she is, loves me.
No, it's he, it's you.
Oh, you're talking about me?
What's the best thing to your employees? Because if in your
He's
magical
stunningly
dreams,
good looking.
He's so good looking, I can't stand it. Okay, no, that he loves me.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of, and there's a bunch of employees watching in the room, is I'm willing to adjust, back to the last answer, I and they map a career plan where we're going, but I'm always prepared for the worst. I'm always prepared for something to happen in their lives that they can't control, that I'm willing to adjust to and protect them. The biggest thing that I want to do for my employees is to protect them.
You've got their back.
What's that?
You've got their back.
Yeah.
They're giving it, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a big one for me.
You're both very
But if they don't deliver, and the other thing I would say, they would say, you got to let employees know where they stand. I don't know if you guys...
And I've done that poorly throughout my career.
What?
I've done that poorly. I'm so obsessed with honey over vinegar. I would say over the last 3 to 4 years, with a lot of influence by my 11-year younger brother, AJ, I've gotten better at being more straightforward because I'm so optimistic and I'm so honey over vinegar that I don't think I did a good enough job in my 30s, or at least my late 20s into my mid 30s, of being good at letting them know where they stood. I'd rather make it great, and then fire them with a knife to their neck.
All right, so...
See, now, but that is, and thank God you know that, because that is the horse's ass of business when people do that. That is the worst.
Horse's ass.
You know, people come in and say, you got fired.
It's true.
Mary, you have to go. Mary says, why me? Well, Mary, you really stunk. And we're having a cutback now. The recession just came. And Mary said, but I've been here 31 years. Let everyone who works for you know where they stand. Tell them 3 times, 4 times a year. Here's what I like about what you're doing, and here's what you can do to improve.
Let's just do a little quiz here. Raise your hand in this room if you work for somebody besides yourself. Okay, that's a heck of a lot of people.
And what about the other way? And
Now,
what about the other way?
How many of you know where you stand
How
with your
many,
boss?
how many of you bosses have told you where you stand? A third, not even. So if you're a boss, how many people here are bosses? Raise your hand. Lots of those also. How many of you
Like
bosses?
a boss or like a boss?
I'm not talking, how many of you are boss? How many of you are managers of people? Okay, how many of you have in the past 6 months told each one of your people candidly where they stand?
Bunch of
Come on,
Not bad.
not bad. That's better than most
Much
audiences.
better than
most
a
audiences.
more mature
All right.
audience.
Okay. All right, we're going to start taking questions from the audience, and here's one. All right, it's from Scott Perry. Scott, thanks so much for this great question, and here it is. What are the top 3 things that you give a fuck about? And
Yes,
the top,
Suze.
okay, I said it. And the top 3 things nobody should give a fuck about.
This is the best. I'm so happy.
That's the first for me up here. Okay. What are the top 3 things you give a hoot about? And the top 3 things that nobody, I like that nobody should give a hoot about. Jack, what are the top 3 things that you give a hoot about?
My family, and nobody should give a damn about them. My school, the school we're founding, the Jack Welch Management Institute, where we're building leaders every day. We got 900 MBAs. I care passionately about that. And I care like hell about the Patriots and the Red Sox.
Jesus fucking Christ.
He really does. All right, Gary, and what did Jack, just finish up. Okay, boys, what are the top 3 things that nobody should care about? Not you personally, but that nobody should give a hoot about. That nobody should give it.
I told them one, my family.
No, but I mean, you shouldn't care about what other people think about you. I mean, that kind of thing. That's what I think the question is at.
I've done my piece on
Okay,
this
fine.
one.
Gary?
Here are the 3 things I care most about. 1, spying on the other team's sideline. 2, deflating footballs.
Oh, it's getting bad.
You loser.
And 3, Canadian hockey players.
I don't either.
All right. I love this one. This is from Chris Hill, and his question is, what have you and Jack, what have you and Gary learned from each other?
Well, I can say now I was at Gary's office last week getting some help on some stuff for our school, and what a place. Sacked out in couches, people with laptops, heads down on desks in teams, going at stuff. It's a whole new way of doing it that was brand new to me, and it's exciting as hell.
I think we're getting to know each other more and more. What Jack taught me is it's more about reaffirming my greatest hope, which is when you look up to somebody like a Jack and what he's accomplished, and when he still has that fire, right? I pray every day of my life in my silo of business that I'm hustling and on fire to the last second, right? And so to me, 60, 70, 80, 90.
And you just dropped the last decade on me.
No.
Hey.
Jack, I was, people are living longer. Things are good.
140, you can live to 142
Don't
now.
listen to him.
But hear what he said about the Patriots. I think, that to me is the best,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we were in a meeting the other day and he got pissed, remember about that one thing? I was like, yeah, get pissed. Like he was like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm like, yes.
That's right, I know, he was really pissed.
I love that.
That was exciting.
Good job, Jack.
All right. Jack, if you were starting a business today, Adam Justice asked, if you were starting a business today, what business would you start?
I'm a chemical engineer. I'll take that background. I've been in biochemistry, et cetera. I would love to be in biotech. I would love to find some real answers, and it's a hot place. This funding is easy, and there's lots of funding out there for it, and the world of biotech is changing every hour, just like it is with the internet.
Yep.
I love the biotech space, and it's been very good to me also.
If you could go back 25 years, what business would you start?
That's a good question. Maybe something like a Nike. You know, to me, I think that my legacy plays out professionally by building a consumer-facing brand at scale. So some of the iconic consumer brands that have started, an Under Armour or something of that nature, speaks to me. Grey Goose, vodka,
Yeah.
something like that.
No, I didn't have the guts that you had, Gary, or some of the people in this room had. I went to a big fat company called GE, and I was the first employee in a plastics business in the lab. And so I hired my first technician, so I was a good communicator. There were just two of us. And so I started a business in the shell of an electrical company, a plastics business. Now we grew it to $15 billion over a period of time, but it was always under the shell. I wasn't out getting funding. I was able to steal employees from other places. I had a good brand to steal employees. So, I was an entrepreneur, a cowardly entrepreneur, you'd call me, because I wasn't out in the street hustling. I had the mothership protecting me, and they didn't know anything about plastics.
Yeah. From Jay Levy, what is the toughest business decision you ever had to make? Gary, what's the toughest business decision?
Probably walking away from day-to-day operations of Wine Library, right? I mean, I built that with my dad.
Yeah.
It's my baby. It's my dad is my dad, right?
Right.
And my hero came to this country with no money and $100 and made an American dream for us and built a foundation for us. So making that leap, it made it much easier that I was going to start a business with my brother, who, is an absolute love of my life. So, I think that was still tough, though. As much as this amazing new chapter with my bro, who's 11 years younger than me, and if anybody has sibling separations at that scale, you understand that there's some fatherly, it's a different dynamic. Yeah. It was still tough to think that, those 150 people at Wine Library bought into me for the most part. That was tough.
Yeah. All right. Jack?
Well, I was just close to becoming chairman. I was vice chairman, and I was running for office, and I wanted to, and I have a speech impediment, as you all know now, and my stammer was always in my way, and when I was a young engineer, I saw this guy who was a slick-speaking, beautiful-speaking guy.
Yeah, it must have been awesome.
He was in GE, and he left GE to become president of another big chemical company. Then I became vice chairman. I could bring him back. So everybody in HR, because I knew him 20 years before, everybody in HR was telling me, no, you can't have this guy. And so I became a real pain in the ass and drove in there and convinced the chairman at the time, I gotta have this guy. I hire him. And he turns out to be a drunk. Try that one. You're right at the edge of getting a tough job. You pushed aside the system, you blew the place up to get him, and he's a bum.
And what'd you do?
I finally swallowed, went down and said, we gotta take him out. I think it's why I got the job. I think it's one of the big reasons I got the job.
It's because you owned it?
I ate my mistake.
He changed his mind.
I had mud all over my face. My arrogance quotient dropped about 50%, and I became a bit better person for it. But it was a brutal thing. Because what most people do when they hire weak people, they try and hide them and do the work for them because they don't want to ever admit that they screwed up. It's a common characteristic. Oh shit, I hired a bum. Get rid of the bum and face into it and do it.
Yeah, and own it.
That's a long story for a short.
I mean, and I think that, you make a lot, the funny thing about the hard business decisions is they stay with you. I think, Gary, while you were talking, I could still feel how painful that and how hard that decision was to you. You never regretted it, did you?
No, and even more interestingly, when I look back at my career, I oftentimes think, what would have happened if I went right to tech early on or something else and not went into family business? And the slow curve that created, but I don't regret that because all the time I spent with my dad. I mean, decisions are decisions. You got to make them.
Yep. Okay. All right, let's talk about MBAs for a second. And we had a question from Osvaldo. I'm not wearing my glasses. Osvaldo Yaya. Okay. And
Osvaldo.
It says, Jack, do you still see any value in business schools?
Yeah. Look, if you got 2 years and the time to take off and go do it, and you get another notch in your belt, and you learn a lot, absolutely. But I got a better solution. Nice that this fellow asked that question. We got a book for $25. It's called The Real Life MBA.
Yeah, go get it.
Right hook 'em, Jack. Right hook 'em.
I know, really.
Right hook 'em, Jack.
Right now.
You can
The
order it
Real
on
Life
the Real Life MBA.
And we have a
Thank you.
business school online 100% that was just voted by by CEO Magazine as the #1 business school in the U.S. online.
Number one.
Costs $39,000. You learn today, you practice tomorrow, and you share on Friday, and you get yourself a fantastic practical MBA.
All right, let's find out what
Thank
Gary...
you, Mr.
All right, went back. They
for
already
my
went away. Okay.
commercial.
All right, let's find out what Gary wants to sell. Gary, anything you want to sell?
I want to sell spying on the sidelines, deflating footballs. No, I'm good.
Are you saying you don't love Tom Brady?
I do not love Tom Brady.
Oh, come on!
Oh my God! Can we just take a vote and then we'll move right along?
fucking hate
Who loves
Tom
Tom
Brady?
Brady? Oh, there's like 5
There's
people.
six people that like Tom Brady.
Okay, fine. All right.
So this is
All right. This
Texas
is Millennial Week is asking. Millennials are launching startups has become a trend. Are they really ready, or do they undervalue corporate experience?
Millennial Week, I think that they could be ready. I was ready at 22. We've seen a ton of people being ready. I think that we have an audacity now because of startup culture that everybody thinks they're always ready, always. And so, and that actually goes even to a more interesting place. I actually am prejudiced against people who are Ivy League schooled, who've been protected in private schools, who I often judge, wrongly by the way, that they don't have the stomach for the market. Right? I've seen a lot more success with the scrappy in the streets play than the people that have been kind of coddled a little bit along the way because the market doesn't give a fuck where you went to school.
No, it just cares about your
And
performance.
companies don't the day after you get there.
That's a really good point.
The day after you get there.
I'm 14 years old, says Rodney Yale Ford. What interests did you have when you were 14 that led to your position today?
Playing sports hard. Pitching, playing hockey, and a ferocious golf competitor when I was 12. And I caddied when I was 9.
Do you remember anything from high school or college whatsoever?
Jesus Christ,
Oh, no,
Susie.
really. I would tell you, I already know the answer. I wouldn't ask the question. I mean, he just was not about school. He was about sports. Were you not? Graduate school, I know you learned a lot.
Oh, you
but-
weren't saying he was old as shit. You were
No,
saying...
no. What do you think I am?
Well, that's what I thought. I think that's what they thought.
No,
Suze.
no. Okay, thank you, Gary. That is not at all
Oh, I'm sorry.
the meaning of that question.
She has to face enemy
I mean,
later.
I'm going home with this guy. So no, I did not mean it that way. I mean, school. It was not about school. The
Look,
question was when you were 14 years
my
old.
math teacher was the golf coach. So I didn't have to go to class. I went out and play golf.
Right. It was all sports all the time. Gary, when you were 14?
I was an F student making $2,000 a weekend selling baseball cards. It became the entire foundation of my success.
So every parent who's out there telling their kids to study and so forth, tell them just to play sports and sell cards. And all right. Jennifer Nassari asked.
But by the way, Suze, for a second.
Yes.
For a second. Obviously not, and haha, but way too many parents are not being self-aware, are not auditing their children properly, and are not putting them in the best position to succeed and emphasizing their entrepreneurial or athletic or other artistic skills. They're trying to force them into getting good grades because it's the parents who care about their self-esteem around their other fucking parent friends.
Look, the problem is that, I mean, the problem
Thank you.
is,
Right.
I will just
So
say,
right.
between us, we have 8 children, and I will just say that you start off saying, I'm going to help my kid figure out who they are, and I'm going to help them become who they are and what they're really good at, and then you get sucked into the vortex of getting your kid into college, and it makes you insane,
Fuck
and you
the
do things. Okay,
vortex,
fine.
Suze.
Well, how old are your kids, Gary?
5 and 2, and guess
Okay,
what?
I'll
On the
talk
record,
to you in 15 years
Oh,
about it, in 20
Susie,
years
talk
about
to me
this.
right now. I don't give a fuck what they do. I just want them to do what they're best at, and I don't give a fuck about what the other parents think of me. I don't need to live vicariously
It's a
through my
hard-
kids because I'm going to get mine by myself.
Right. You can say, look, self-actualize yourself so you don't have to self-actualize through your kids. The question from Jennifer Nassari is, what is that? That's gratuitous advice from the moderator.
The moderator's on fire.
Make the moderator stop talking. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received, both Jack and Gary? What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Great question.
I can go first on this one, Jack, because it's quick. My dad grabbed me at 15 when I started working, 14 when I started working in the liquor store. And as you could tell by my personality, I had plenty of natural bullshit, salesmanship, kind of bravado DNA. And he looked me dead in the face and he did that and he goes, heavy Russian accent, if you ever buy something, you keep it. What he meant by that was, you stick to your word, right? That word was bond. And that force my dad pushed against my natural DNA gave me the balance that is an enormous, enormous backbone to my success.
Okay, fantastic. Jack, best advice?
Well, my best advice was I worked in a remote location for GE. I ran my own show. I came to work now in what looks like casual clothes. It was a big deal then. It isn't. And then I got down to the headquarters just before the final job gets in, and I'm appointed to the board, 4 of us as vice chairman. I go to my first board meeting. I'm in a white shirt, a striped tie, a blue suit. I'm as packaged as I can be, and I go to the board meeting, and I don't say anything. And Paul Austin, who was the CEO of Coke, comes up to me after me and says, Jack, the reason we gave you this job and the reason we're looking at you is you might shake this old place up. Be yourself. Dance with the girl who brought you here. Be yourself. Don't end up, you don't look right in this program. And it's not going to work.
Stay authentic.
So stay authentic.
Stay authentic.
Like who you are, change as you learn about yourself. Be flexible, but understand, be yourself at the core.
Yeah. Don't try to change for where you're working. Sally Ann Kuntz asks, please, can you please rank in order of importance? Luck, intelligence, and hard work.
Backwards. Hard work, intelligence, luck.
What do you think?
I'd put intelligence and I'd put luck and hard work in the same pot.
Okay. All right, nobody's asking me, so I'm not going to answer. All right, this says, Jared Loftus says, what first? Build the team to get the company and its rev potential, or build revenue so you can afford the team? This is the entrepreneur's dilemma. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? Build the team?
If you don't have the money, you're not in the game, right? So you've got to have, one or the other. When AJ and I started VaynerMedia, we didn't take any funding, but I went out and hustled a couple pre-sales, campaign works, and asked them for the money up front, and we used that money to start the engine, right? So if you don't have that luxury, the chicken and egg is not as much a chicken and egg as people think. You need cash to stay alive. So that's how I look at it.
But yeah, and how you get it and what the time is right, you'll figure out. But don't ever forget one thing. Business is that game we talk about, and the best team wins. So without question, forget Deflategate and his crap. The best team wins.
When you cheat.
And your job is to build the best team. I mean, and people say to me oftentimes, well, we're a small group. You need best team more than a big fat company does.
Everybody was a small group.
Yeah, I mean, you need to
Every
get
company.
the best and brightest you can touch, and then get lucky.
Yeah. All right. This is
Thomas Edison was one fucker. Then you had 400,000 people, right?
right. That's where it got to. Started with him. All right. Let's. This is a great question. It's about mentors from Isabelle de Mortier, I think. Who was your mentor, and what is the most memorable moment you had with that person?
Well, I'm against mentors. I think mentoring is bullshit, particularly in a company, because you get assigned to a mentor. Everybody hates maybe the mentor. The mentor's unpopular. The mentor's a dick. And you're all of a sudden a dick because that's your mentor. You want to have everybody as a mentor. The Wall Street Journal's a mentor. Zuckerberg's a mentor. Bezos is a mentor. You want to read and learn from Gary's a mentor. You want to grab and touch every person, and don't get trapped in that corporate crap on mentoring where you get a person and you get stuck.
And you're saying you have mentors of people that you don't
Mentors,
know.
mentors give you the parking lot and the directions to the men's and ladies' room. That's
Right.
what they're
But when
good
you
for.
say, Jack, have these mentors, you're talking about people who you don't even know. You just use these
All
people
you
as
don't
mentors.
know. You want to learn about them and understand it all. Everybody's a mentor. Gary's a mentor.
But
He's a mentor to me.
But you also had mentors like Sxsw. I mean, you had real mentors who saw.
Yeah, you get some, but I mean, you don't want to think of a mentor.
You want to have everybody as
You
a
want
mentor.
everything as a mentor. Like at our school, for example, we have everybody in the morning getting the Wall Street Journal, and they're online. They're getting it. They're talking about it. And they're arguing whether Facebook is valued right or Twitter's right or something else is. But that's all generated from that newspaper, and it's information. It's a mentor.
So everything is a mentor. Gary, mentors?
You know, it's interesting. I was listening. It's similar to my answer was going to be the market is the mentor, and I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think, I mean, at the end of the day, my parents mentored me to be a person, but I was too egotistical as a kid to allow anybody to come in. Like, I actually undereducated myself on purpose because I wanted to be internal to my intuition.
All right.
You didn't like that one, Suze?
No, I'm just thinking about whether or not there's a follow-up question about whether your father was obviously your first mentor.
My dad and I didn't agree on shit.
All right.
Right? He taught me the word is bond, but I grew my business from $3 to $25 million in 3 years, and my dad called an all-hands-on meeting because somebody was fucking stealing peanuts.
No. All right.
You know, we didn't see the world the same way.
Yeah. All right, here's a question. This is Matt DiPaolo asks, and I'm going to broaden this question. The question is, what's the last book you read? The question, I know, this may be a very short answer for both of the two of you, but let's just talk about what you read in general. When you wake up in the morning, you've got to fill your head with stuff to get going, to give you perspective. What do you read? What was the last, if you read a book recently, what was it? And what do you read in general on a regular basis? What should people in the audience be reading?
I mean, when I write my next book, that will then match the amount of books that I've written to read. So that's not a good.
All right, so you're not reading books, okay.
But here's what I am reading.
I hope you read our book.
But here's what it is. It's back to the last question. I'm reading the 4,000 emails a day I'm getting, the thousands of tweets. I'm reading the market, right?
But do you read anything, any websites? Is there anything you go to every morning? Do you read All Things D?
Jetsinsider.com.
Jetsinsider.com. Well, that's right there with you, Jack. I mean, what are you reading?
I have about the same reading appetite as you do, but I'd get the real life MBA no matter what you do. No, but more importantly, and it all goes to charity, I want you to be sure
every
you
last penny
understand.
that goes to charity.
But more importantly, Business Insider, the Journal, the New York Post.
Yeah.
I love it.
Page 6, right?
I love it.
Got a little scandal
I
in
love
your
it.
life.
No, but I don't want to be in it. I've done that.
I get it.
All right, we're gonna have two more questions and we're gonna wrap it up. We're getting to the end. Jack and Gary, Lawrence Edmondson asks, were you ever scared that you would fail? And if so, how'd you get past it?
Always. Constant paranoia. I see competition everywhere I looked. I always tried to take a product that we were leading in and make it better. I heard a quote the other day from Tim Cook at Apple. It was a fabulous quote. It's one I live by. I never had the quote. It's his. He said, I never worry about the competition. I worry about beating my last release. I want my next product to beat the hell out of my last release. That's a great thought. You don't want to get all hung up against the competition. You want to just get better and better and better.
To me, there's a very big distinction between respect and scared. I've never been scared, but I respect the competition. I respect that it's out there, but I've never been scared.
Not paranoid the way Jack is describing?
No, I think for me, once I realized who I was at a very young age, I was scared about science class in 6th grade because I knew my mom would be upset that I got an F.
Yeah.
But when it came to business, I've never had a day like that in my life. Yeah. I'm scared about the health and well-being of my family.
Yeah.
But business, that context, never.
We had 70,000 people in our company with stock options. And that is one brick on your back. Because you're out there every day. If that stock craters, you can think of all those lives that are whacked. Yeah. And so you that is a brick to carry. And the joy of them getting, on a Friday night, the stock went from up 5,000% over this period. And the joy of going in and seeing the sheets Friday night of who exercised how many options was the turn on of all time. And to see that all taken away from them was a crazed paranoia that I had. It drove me nuts.
It's great.
It was the worst obligation. You just felt it every minute.
Let's just
So I was scared.
All right, let's just have some parting words at the end here. I'm just going to give you both free reign to just say, send people out with a message about, if you want them to have one thought as they go out and think about getting business right, winning, crushing the competition, inventing themselves and inventing companies, what would be this last parting words of advice that you would give this crowd?
Self-awareness and empathy. It's how you're gonna win. Stop bullshitting yourself, start giving a fuck about other people. That is going to put you in a very strong position.
Care a lot about what you do, everything you do. Relationships, your business, have a passion for it and care. Care about just about everything and be authentic while you're caring.
All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.
And we're sourcing the ladies that will come to our academy in 2 avenues. First of all, through other companies that would like to take our program and have us train their ladies, or through the Ministry of Labor and the Human Resources Development Fund. We'll be working with ladies that then don't have jobs. And what we would do is work with almost like preferred vendors and do on-the-job training where they've got 2 days in our academy and 3 days on the job.